Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. I offer my humble obeisance unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vasudeva. Narayanam namaskrityam naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam mudirayet. Before reciting Srimad Bhagvatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisance unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayana, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author of Srimad Bhagvatam. Nashtaprayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtike. By regular attendance in the classes on Srimad Bhagvatam and by rendering service unto the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the Personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Hare Krishna, dear Vaishnavas, thank you so much for joining. We are reading Granth Srimad Bhagvatam, Canto 7, Chapter 4, Hiranyakashipu terrorizes the universe. So, in the last few verses, we were discussing the ecstatic symptoms of Prahlad Maharaj, how he was such a great devotee, and how Narada Muni, his spiritual master, is glorifying the extraordinary qualities of Prahlad Maharaj. And he said that how he was dancing and crying and laughing and jubilation, in complete ecstasy, in short. So let's see the next verse, text number 40. Nadati kvachit utkantho vilajo nrityati kvachit kvachit tadbhavana yuktas tanmayo anuchkaraha. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Sometimes, upon seeing the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Prahlad Maharaj would loudly call in full anxiety. He sometimes lost his shyness in jubilation and began dancing in ecstasy, and he sometimes, being fully absorbed in thoughts of Krishna, he felt oneness and imitated the pastimes of the Lord. Purport. Prahlad Maharaj sometimes felt that the Lord was far away from him and therefore called him loudly. When he saw that the Lord was before him, he was fully jubilant. Sometimes thinking himself one with the Supreme, he imitated the Lord's pastimes, and in separation from the Lord, he would sometimes show symptoms of madness. These feelings of a devotee would not be appreciated by the impersonalists. One must go further and further into spiritual understanding. The first realization is impersonal Brahman, but one must go still further to realize Paramatma, and eventually the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is worshipped by the transcendentalists. Transcendental feelings of a devotee in relationship of Shanta, Dasya, Sakhya, Vatsalya or Madhurya. Here the feelings of Prahlad Maharaj were in the mellow of Vatsalya, filial love and affection. As a child cries when left by his mother, when Prahlad Maharaj felt that the Lord was away from him, he began to cry. Nadati. Again, a devotee like Prahlad sometimes sees that the Lord is coming from a long distance to pacify him, like a mother responding to a child, saying, "My dear child, do not cry, I am coming." Then the devotee, without being ashamed due to his surroundings and circumstances, begins to dance, thinking, "Here is my Lord is coming." Thus the devotee in full ecstasy sometimes imitates the pastimes of the Lord, just as the cowherd boys used to imitate the behavior of the jungle animals. However, he does not actually become the Lord. Prahlad Maharaj achieved the spiritual ecstasies described herein by his advancement in spiritual understanding. So Narada Muni continues to glorify the ecstatic symptoms of Prahlad Maharaj, how he was chanting, dancing, completely absorbed in the thoughts of the Supreme Lord, how he was crying sometimes acting like a dumb person, sometimes dancing. And the Lord shares, the Prabhupada is mentioning how the ecstatic mellow he was experiencing, like a child and the mother relationship, Vatsalya bhav he was experiencing. So sometimes in viraha, separation, crying, when will my mother come, care for me? And when the child sees mother coming and child is dancing. So extraordinarily devotion. And Prabhupada quotes in the last line, advancement in spiritual understanding. He was very, very advanced, and all these symptoms, as we discussed yesterday, the different stages, the bhava stage is very, very high. But one has to go through the sadhu sangha, bhajan kriya, purify of all the anarthas, and be very, very firmly situated. And then the asakti would come. Then the ruchi would come. Right now, my ruchi is in material things. My ruchi is in sense gratification. I cannot experience this bhava. Why? Because of the anarthas. So we have to go through those stages and follow the footsteps of great souls. Any other comments or questions? Okay, let's read the next verse. Devotees who didn't get a chance to read yesterday would like to read today. Yes, someone who didn't read yesterday. Prabir Prabhu, you want to start?
Hare Krishna Guru, thank you. Hare Krishna Guru, Dandavad Pranam. Hare Krishna Guru, Dandavad Pranam. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Text 41. Kachid utpalakastusnim aste samsparsha nivritta ashpanda pranaya nanda solila amilite kshana. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Sometimes feeling the touch of the Lord's lotus hand, he became spiritually jubilant and remained silent, his hair standing on end and tears gliding down from his half-closed eyes because of his love for the Lord. Purport. When a devotee feels separation from the Lord, he becomes eager to see where the Lord is. And sometimes when he feels pangs of separation, tears flow incessantly from his half-closed eyes. As stated by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his Shikshastaka, Jugaitam Nimesham Chakshusha Prabhrishaitam, the words Chakshusha Prabhrishaitam refer to tears falling incessantly from the devotee's eyes. These symptoms, which appear in pure devotional ecstasy, were visible in the body of Prahlad Maharaj. Hare Krishna. So, yes, Srila Prabhupada is so nicely giving us the picture of a devotee who has a love for Lord in the feelings of separation. And in these feelings of separation, he becomes so eager to see the Lord And because of this separation, he doesn't have any other thought about anything, not material, not any other spiritual, only thinking about his beloved. And Prabhupada gave the perfect example of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that Yugaitam Nimishana Chakshusha Pabrichaitam. Yugaitam Nimishana means Prabhupada is saying that it's juga, it's like whole, just not by seeing for a minute. It looks like it's a juga. And Prabhupada is also here saying that love in separation, which Mahaprabhu brought that. Actually, before Mahaprabhu, love in separation started by Srila Madhavendra Puripad. Madhavendra Puripad was the first who was chanting that verse, Oi Boki, that verse where he's saying, last line was, Pamba Dayalum Sharanam Brajan, that Krishna, who gave so much mercy to Putana, who came to kill him, but he gave him his mother in Vaikuntha. So why someone should not take shelter of that?
Hare Krishna. Prabhu, you there?
Prabhu,
Okay.
Sorry, my son is crying.
Yeah, please take care of him. Yeah, no worries. I'll take over. So I think Prabhu was mentioning that Yugaitam Nimishena Chakshusha Pravrishaitam Shunyaitam Jagat Sarvam Govinda Virahena Me. Viraha, that feeling of separation, is the whole mood of our Gaudiya Vaishnava Parampara. And here Prahlad Maharaj was feeling the pangs of separation. And as His Holiness Gaur Govind Maharaj mentions, that we have to learn to cry for Krishna. One time someone asked His Holiness Radha Govind Maharaj, what do you want to do for Krishna? And he really was in deep meditation. He asked again, Maharaj, what do you want to do for Krishna? And Maharaj said, I want to cry for Krishna. So, crying for Krishna. If we don't cry for Krishna, then we will be cried, or we will be made to cry by Maya. That's what is happening. Everyone is crying by the pangs of Maya. But a devotee also feels those pangs, that's the pangs of separation from Krishna. Very high level, but one should not artificially try to imitate this and show I am a great soul by shedding artificial tears. But if one naturally has that love, one has gone through those stages, and one is genuinely feeling it, and if one is not feeling it, then one should feel that one should cry that I cannot cry for Krishna. I'm crying for materialistic things. When will I learn to cry from Krishna, for Krishna? That's devotion. Chanting is also a cry. Chanting means crying for Krishna. It may not necessarily mean shedding tears, but actually chanting is a sincere prayer or calling out to the Lord. Lord, I am suffering in this material pang. Please engage me in your service so I can be situated in the Satchit Ananda platform and be truly happy. So our whole mission is of separation, Gaudiya Vaishnavism. we open and read Vaishnava bhajans, they're all in the mood of separation. When will that day come? When will my eyes choke with tears of love? When will I get taste for chanting the holy name? When will I get the association of Rup and Sanatan? When will I, when? So a lot of bhajans are on this theme of separation. Okay. Anyone else has any comments?
Prabhuji, in the previous verse, it is said that there is 5 transcendental relationships with the Lord. The first one is Shanto, and we know that paraphernalia are in relationship with the Lord as a Shantobha. Is it possible for a devotee, living devotee, to be engaged with the Lord with a Shanto relationship?
Well, first of all, generally we don't think that in spiritual world everything is animate. That's one big difference. So everything is kind of Satchidananda. That's very crucial point. So we don't consider them as just matter, because there is nothing material there. That's one important point to keep in mind. Like this, they're not jad basically. They are doing that service. Now coming back to your question, that is it possible for another devotee? Maybe if someone has heard of examples, I don't specifically recall. Bhadra Prabhu, Nandini Mataji, anyone wants to share any?
Hare Krishna. Dandvat Prabhuji. This is Bhadra. I haven't heard any example, but we know that as we are sadhaka, and when we will come to Raganava Bhakti or under the shelter of one of the Brajavasis, then we all have the natural Swarupa, natural Swarup with the Lord, and that natural Swarup will be revealed to us as not artificially, but really genuinely. Then we will find out what our Swarup is. And as you mentioned, Srilas mentioned that in spiritual world everything is conscious. Even the Krishna's earrings, they are also conscious. When Mother Jashoda is warming the milk, that is milk is also conscious. Everything is conscious. We will come to that Swarupa. When we will come to that Swarupa, then we will find out. I put it that way. Because, we all have Swarupa, and if you meant to be a Krishna's flute, then we'll be Krishna's flute. If you meant to be Krishna's monkey, we'll be Krishna's monkey. Whatever our Swarupa, we will come to that. That's my understanding. I don't know any specific example of any devotee. But we know that what was the name of the devotee? He was chanting the Lord and he will become unconscious in Chaitanya Charitamrita. There was an example. Someone's example was just by seeing the chanting the Lord. Something. I don't exactly know the name. Someone would probably add it. Thank you, Prabhu. Sorry.
Thank you, Prabhu. One particular example just coming to my mind is that how Lord Balaram expands in all different items or entities to serve Krishna in all different rasas. So yes, he is serving in Shanti rasa also, expanding in different paraphernalia. The Mridanga, we say, is expansion of Balramji. The Kartal is expansion of Balramji. So the answer is yes, actually. Does that help?
Yeah, Definitely, Prabhuji. Thank you very much.
Yeah, it says that Balram is Krishna's Brahman thread is Balram. Krishna's pillow is Balram, like that. Different examples can be. Thank you.
Okay, Vipul Prabhu, you want to read text 42?
Sure, Prabhuji. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna devotees, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Text 42. Sha Uttam Sloko Padaro Bindar Nishe Bhaya Apinchana Sango Labdhaya Tan Bhan Param Nibitrim Atmano Muhur Duh Sango Dinasya Mano Shaman Bhayadat. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation. Because of his association with perfect, unalloyed devotees who had nothing to do with anything material, Prahlad Maharaj constantly engaged in the service of the Lord's lotus feet. By seeing his bodily features when he was in perfect ecstasy, persons very poor in spiritual understanding became purified. In other words, Prahlad Maharaj bestowed upon them transcendental bliss. Apparently, Prahlad Maharaj was placed in circumstances in which he was always tortured by his father. In such mental conditions, one cannot have an undisturbed mind, but since bhakti is unconditional, ahvaitiku aparihata, Prahlad Maharaj was never disturbed by the chastisements of the Hiranyakashipu. On the contrary, the bodily symptoms of his ecstatic love for the Supreme Personality Godhead turned the minds of his friends who had also been born in atheistic families. Instead of being disturbed by the torments of his father, Prahlad influenced these friends and cleansed their minds. A devotee is never contaminated by material conditions, but persons subjected to material conditions can become spiritually advanced and blissful upon seeing the behavior of a pure devotee. What a beautiful translation purport. So here we clearly see the importance of association in the path of bhakti. So Prahlad Maharaj is transcendental. So there could not be any material relationship with him. And that's why his perfect bhakti, perfect love for the God, that also purified even the other demons' sons, who are the friends of Prahlad Maharaj. And most of the time we see, when a devotee goes to any places, somehow or other, they make friends and slowly influence them and make them to be a devotee. That is the power of a devotee because of their bhakti to the Lord, and that is always unconditional. As we saw and discussed in the previous verses, that without any reason, just for bhakti and love to Krishna, they keep doing all the services to the mankind. Back to Prabhuji.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. So, power of association is mentioned in this verse. He had nothing to do with, he would associate with those devotees who were akincana. Akincana means their only property is Krishna. They have no interest, they have nothing to do with material things. So it's a very nice example. Whatever association we are in, we will develop those qualities. If we associate with so-called devotees, we will become a so-called devotee. If we associate with advanced, sincere devotees who are sincerely trying, they may not be perfect, but who are sincerely trying to be perfect, who are inspired, who are enthusiastic in the process of bhakti, then we will also become like that. Any quality. If we want to improve our chanting, let's associate with those who chant nicely. If we want to improve our reading and hearing, let's associate with those who read and hear nicely. If we want to improve our cooking for Krishna, let's associate with those who are cooking nicely for Krishna. Very, very simple. Association has a lot of power. And then the next line, when to the other people, the persons who are poor in spiritual understanding would also become purified. Why? Because he was like such an advanced soul. Now we cannot artificially imitate that and think, oh, I will make the whole world a devotee. We have to understand, what can I do in my role? Where do I stand? I must try to share it with others, but at the same time I must not take material association. I must try to give spiritual association, what I am reading, hearing, chanting, books, etc. But I must not get influenced by their materialistic propaganda. So one has to be cognizant of one's abilities, because it's like a match of kabaddi. In India, there's a game called kabaddi that you have to touch the opposite party and try to bring as many people. Try to touch as many people as you can. But the most important point is that you have to come back to your court. If you don't come back, and if you think, oh, I'll grab all these 7 people, probably they may not even allow us to come back. They may catch us there and we will lose. We'll be out. So we have to be careful. Too much association with materialistic people and thinking, oh, I'll make them a devotee, who are not favorable, who are just sharing their propaganda. We don't have to take their material propaganda. We have to share spiritual association. So one has to be careful there. Any other comments or questions?
Haribo, Hare Krishna. What I get from this verse is that the main thing is that we can learn by the example of Prahlad Maharaj, who was, as we read, that he had everything from his father. Not just that, but all his associates were also demon families. And in the middle of that, he has to be a devotee of the Lord. So when we go for preaching, we have to try to give the association to the people, to the public, not take their association. Because the Maya is so strong that we will start taking their association and we go everything what they do, then possibilities there. We will drip from our spiritual path. So here Prahlad Maharaj is very strong. So that strongness can come by the sadhana bhakti. That will come. And that's what Srila Prabhupada used to say all the time. If you follow 4 regular principle chant 16 rounds, qualitatively without offenses, Maya will have no place to come. I mean, Maya will always try to act, but it will have less effect on our thing. So that's what here is Prahlad. Same was the case for the division in Ramayana. Same thing was with division. Thank you. Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Okay, we'll read the next verse. Nayan Prabhu, would you like to read?
Thank you. Dandavat devotees, all glories to Prabhupada. Text 43. Tasman mahabhagavate mahabhage mahatmane Hiranyakashipu rajan akrad agam atmaje Translation purport by His Divine Grace, Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. My dear King Yudhishthira, the demon Hiranyakashipu tormented this exalted, fortunate devotee, although Prahlad was his own son. Purport. When a demon like Hiranyakashipu, despite his elevated position due to severe austerities, begins to tease a devotee, he begins falling down, and the result of his austerity downhill. One who oppresses a pure devotee loses all the results of his austerities, penances, and pious activities. Since Hiranyakashipu was now inclined to chastise most exalted devotee, son Prahlad Maharaj, his opulence began dwindling. So in this verse and purport, like Prabhupada wonderfully explained how someone fall down, like blaspheming a devotee is one of the 10 great offenses. And also when someone blasphemes a devotee or like oppress some other devotee, Krishna takes it personally, and so Krishna takes care of his devotee. So anyone who blasphemes a devotee or oppress a devotee, he lost all his, like, whatever he gathered by austerities, penance, everything get lost. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, back to you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much, Prabhu. This also reminds me of the story of Mahabharata, when it is said that when Dushasana grabbed the hairs of Mother Draupadi, it is said that their countdown began. So the opposite countdown, the degradation countdown. Similarly, Hiranyakashipu started to torture Prahlad Maharaj. The countdown for degradation began, and it was just a matter of time that Lord would come, as already told to the demigods. The transcendental voice had already revealed that when Hiranyakashipu would start to do this, because Lord cannot tolerate this. Krishna cannot tolerate his devotee in danger. Very simple. Love me, love my dog. Prabhupada always said that. A parent, most of you are parents. You can tolerate an injury to you, but it will be where it is kind of, if let's say, the parents has some problem and the child has some problem, the parent will forget his or her problem, but will try to make sure that the child is comforted, that the child is not in difficulty, right? Therefore, the Lord says, I will tolerate if someone offends me, I will forgive him easily. But if someone offends my devotee, then Tomasthane aparad na paivya, then I cannot even help that person, because my devotees are my pranadhan. They are my life and soul. They are my everything. I have sold myself to them. Vikrinete swam atmanam bhaktebhyo bhaktavatsalah. He is very, very dear to his devotees, and the devotees are the devotees are the life and soul for Krishna, and Krishna is life and soul for his devotees. So Vaishnava Prad we read previously how severe it is. Here the same point is mentioned. Krishna won't tolerate that. And here now Narada Muni is telling to Maharaj Yudhishthira that he started this torturing Prahlad. Any other comments anyone has? Okay, any Matajis want to read? Those who didn't read yesterday.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, I can read.
Please.
Dandavat pranam to everyone. Text 44. Shri Yudhishthira Uvacha Devarsho Eda Vichamo Veditum Tava Suvrata Yadyatmajaya Shuddhaya Pita Data Sadhave Gyam. Translation and purport by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Maharaja Yudhishthira said, O best of the saints, among the demigods, O best of spiritual leaders, how did Hiranyakashipu give so much trouble to Prahlad Maharaja, the pure and exalted saint, although Prahlada was his own son? I wish to know about the subject from you. Purport. To know about the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the characteristics of his pure devotee, one must inquire from the authorities like Devarshi Narada. One cannot inquire about transcendental subject matter from a layman. As stated in Srimad Bhagvatam 3.25.25, Satam prashaganamama vriya sambhavido bhavanti Rit Krishna rasayanacha kathaha. Only by the association with the devotees can one authoritatively understand the position of the Lord and his devotee. A devotee like Narada Muni is addressed as a suvrata. Su means good and vrata means vow. Thus the word suvrata refers to the person who has nothing to do with the material world, which is always bad. One cannot understand anything spiritual from the materialistic scholar puffed up with academic knowledge, as stated in Bhagavad Gita 18.55. Bhakta mam abhijananti. One must try to understand Krishna by devotional service and from a devotee. Therefore, Yudhishthira Maharaja was quite right in wanting to learn further about Prahlad Maharaja from Sri Narada Muni. Hare Krishna. So here Yudhishthira Maharaj is asking the saints and the demigods, everyone, that how Hiranyakashipu is giving trouble to the Prahlad Maharaja, who was the pure exalted saint and was his own son. And he wanted to know that from the Narada Muni, because Narada Muni is like a spiritual master who has no material attachment, and his only thing that he was chanting the Narayana name always, and that was the quality of Narada Muni. And he instructed the Dhruva Maharaja also the same way. So Yudhishthira Maharaj knew that, oh, Narada Muni is the perfect person who can give me all this knowledge, and he was requesting that from his heart, that please express me this, what's happening, because Prahlad Maharaja was his Hiranyakashipu's own son, so why is giving trouble to him? So that's what here is mentioned. And as we were discussing before about the Shantarasa, so I was reading this and I found that the best example of saintly persons situated in the Shantarasa are Sanak, Sanatan, Sanatana, Sanandan and Sanat Kumara, the four Kumara brothers. And what I understand from this comments, that Shantarasa is the neutral state where the person can just see that Krishna is mine and I am Krishna. He does not have any material attachment to anything, and one of the point they have mentioned that the Shanta Rasa come along with the other 5 rasa. Like it can come with the Vatsalya Ras, Sakya Ras, Dasya Ras, and parental also. So Shanta Rasa comes along with the 5 rasa, and that's what the example they have given about the 4 Kumaras. So thank you, Prabhu. Back to you.
Thank you, Mataji. Yudhishthira Maharaj is inquiring from the great spiritual master Narada Muni. And that's the essence of this verse, that one must approach a bona fide spiritual master and inquire. So we have Subrat Prabhu, Suvrata. So I'm not sure if you knew the meaning of your name before, but this verse tells the meaning of your name actually. Suvrata. Vrata means vow. Su means good. Good vow. And what is that good vow? To take the vows of bhakti and not do anything with material world. That is the best vow. And we all should try to become Suvrata. The vows of initiation that we take is Suvrata. They are very good vows, that I will chant 16 rounds nicely. I will not engage in the I'll refrain from meat-eating, intoxication, gambling, illicit sex, etc. I will read Prabhupada books nicely. These are all good vows. By following those Suvrata, good vows, by following in the footsteps of devotees like Narada Muni, who is addressed as Suvrata here, we will also follow that same path. And the importance of hearing is mentioned. Hearing in the association of Sat, only by the association of saintly people. Satam prasange mama virya samvido bhavanti hrit karna rasayana katha. Hear this transcendental message. Rasayan means that the aushadhi, it is the medicine for the material disease. And what happens? The next 2 lines of this verse actually, they say, Bhavanti hrit karna rasaya tad joshanad apavarga vartamani shraddha ratir bhaktir anukrameshyati. 3 things will happen when one engages in hearing in the association of Sata or Suvrata. Shraddha, faith, rati, attachment to Krishna, and bhakti, devotion, anukrameshyati, step by step, will certainly come. How? By the process of hearing from the saintly people. It is the most important process in our Krishna consciousness, hearing. During chanting, we are hearing now. We are reading, hearing. Lectures, we are hearing. Hearing is very, very important. Any other comments, questions anyone has? Any other comments before we end for today? Any questions? Okay. We have very nice association. Suvrata, Sudhira. So these are all very nice. Sudhira also word comes many times in Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam. So let's try to become. Sudhira means one who has, dhi means buddhi, intelligence. One who has good intelligence. Same as Suvrata. Suvrata people have good intelligence, therefore they take good vows. Or Suvrata people are Sudhira, because they use their intelligence in serving Krishna. So whenever the word Su comes before, Su means good. Su Sanskar, Su Swagatam, Suvrata, Sudhira. Okay, so we will stop here and continue tomorrow with the next verse. Tomorrow is Saturday, so as usual we will read in the morning at 9 a.m. tomorrow and day after. And it's also the end of this chapter, so we will do a quick summary and some reflections from chapter 4, and then we will begin with the next chapter, and see how Prahlad Maharaj was tortured by Hiranyakashipu. And it's such an amazing Krishna's arrangement that Nrsimha's appearance day is coming in a few weeks, and we are absorbing our mind and consciousness on that pastime. It is actually the best thing. So we are preparing mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually for the appearance day of Lord Nrsimha Dev. And the best thing to prepare is to read his pastimes. That's what we are doing, which also includes the pastime of his devotees, Prahlad Maharaj. Granthrat Srimad Bhagvatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Gaur Bhaktavrind ki jai. Pancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubheva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.